Greetings everyone, I'm Dwyrin, and lately I had a chance to play a game that had been completely off my radar, a series that had been completely off my radar. It is called Stronghold Crusader 2. As mentioned, I had not been aware of this particular series up until this point. I had the opportunity to get my hands on it, try it out, see if I was going to like it, and I have to say I kind of did. Wasn't sure what kind of game it was, but I quickly realized it was a game like Age of Empires. And that is a game that I remember from my childhood. That is a game I really enjoyed. Those of you familiar with my channel, you know I like, going into the simulation and building things, so it shouldn't be any surprise that, building up your own little town, whatever, sending armies out, killing people who are standing against you, that is definitely something that's going to be right up my alley. Truly enjoy that particular genre, and though I was previously unaware of Stronghold Crusader 2, I did wind up enjoying this particular game for the reasons you are soon going to find out. So the game loads up and immediately notice you have a bunch of different modes that you can begin with. The tutorial, obviously, the first step in pretty much any game ever created ever. Nice introduction to the game. But then you go into something called learning campaigns, which they are a campaign. They've got a story that is being told, and a rather unique mission selection. I mean, you can see here the missions aren't just, numbered sequentially in a list that you, pick and choose from. They decided to put in a bit of a constellation there, which I thought was kind of neat. Kind of neat indeed. The various difficulties of the missions gradually ramp voyage, up.
You will be the first ashore in this strange new land. Take a landing party and prepare for the main force's arrival by clearing the area of the ruins of the old fishing village and collecting some supplies.
So as you can see here, the very first one has you doing nothing but collecting 100 apples and destroying ruins. That's not together all that difficult. But like I mentioned, as you progress, the campaign, of course, does get more difficult.
A reliable supply of stone. Take them and a small patrol into the next valley and attempt to set up a quarry. The scout that made it back tells of the area being overrun with lions and of worrying signs of human habitation at the end of the valley.
See, they start giving you things that are actually a threat. In this case, lions. Have to be careful of them because they will eat your face. So you have two things you're doing, collecting something and killing a very easy enemy.
Many of Saladin's peaceful oases are being raided by Lord Renauld, safe behind his mighty walls at Kerak. To attack this formidable fortress, however, you must first raise a treasure chest of gold large enough to tempt the local Shah to help us.
And the campaigns gradually ramp up until towards the end here. You can see that you've got someone that you have to essentially bribe while you're off trying to kill someone else. If you're unsure what to do, you can always click the hints. They'll give you ideas on what you can do. Completely optional. You don't have to click the hints. You can completely ignore them. All up to you. You can check the difficulties. Overall, quite a bit of fun and really easy to get into the game, I thought. Once you've learned all there is to learn in the learning campaigns, you can go over to the skirmish trials, which doesn't hold your hand quite so much. You start off with a slight gold advantage, admittedly. A small gold advantage, but it is going to be you versus an AI, in which right from the start you have to use what you've learned so far and go and kill them. And of course, as per usual, the difficulty does increase, sending you against multiple opponents in some instances. Again, difference here is this one wasn't too difficult. There was, the river there. You began off with equal footing, all's well. It's not always going to be the case. Sometimes, in the case of Hell's Teeth here, for example, you start off with a lot less gold than the computer. You start horribly outnumbered because you can see on a peninsula, like, just running into a bunch of people with a lot of resources. You've got nothing. Severe disadvantage, and you've got to figure out how to win that particular battle. So the difficulty in this game does ramp up pretty quickly. But that's not to say you're always going to be by yourself. I don't want to give you that impression that you're just like always here alone playing, you know, whatever. It's not true. In some battles you will be with an ally, which is good. Ally versus, you know, a little bit more of overwhelming odds. But, you know, depending on the mission, your various gold will change. Sometimes it'll be even, sometimes you'll have more, sometimes you'll have less than them. So, makes it kind of fun. And after that, if you still want the good times rolling, you are able to pick whatever map you want. Up to 8 players, you can throw as many AI as you want on them, you can be allied with them, you can be all against them, you can change how much gold you start off with, and just test your skill any way you feel like, as anyone you feel like. So that's pretty cool too, and pretty standard for games like this. So lots of different ways that you can play and enjoy this game, also multiplayer, so that's also a lot of fun. Though I confess I didn't test multiplayer. But what about the gameplay itself? What is the game like? Well, you can see the game laid out before you here. This is from one of the, I think the tutorial mission, in which I've just built a bunch of buildings, so you can see pretty much what's going on. On top of this center structure here, above the people gathered around the fire, is your lord. People around the fire are your peasants. And, you know, you've got your different resources. You can see the resource pile on the right-hand side over there. I've got the ability to recruit a bunch of people who I want in my army. Various people do different things, of course. You've got your various different bowmen, your various different foot soldiers. Each foot soldier has, like, their own weapon, and each weapon you need to build said weapon with the tiny squared buildings you see in front. Right there. So if you want to build a bunch of archers, for example, or these crossbowmen, then you need to build, then you need to obviously build something that's building the crossbows, so you've got, and armor in their case, that way you can have these little crossbowmen. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. You're building not just the building, but you also have prerequisites for your army, which I thought was kind of nice.
Lift those bows, you dogs!
I kind of like their voice acting too. And as per usual, in games like this, you can completely control your individual units, give them specific orders to move, stand wherever you want. You can put them in really, really rough formations. I didn't find very much in terms of formation, but I don't think it's that much of a problem that there aren't very much in the way of formation, simply because, well, you'll see the battle later on. What else do we have here? You have your huts. You need those to get more of your peasants, who you are using to, you know, for everything from your army to your, yeah, your farms and production buildings and whatnot. Production buildings obviously are the like of lumber, iron, stone. You're pretty basic materials. You can only build your farms on these lovely little fertile areas, and in that respect, it reminded me of Caesar. So we've got like this Caesar 3 Age of Empires thing kind of blending together. I mean, in Age of Empires, you can build your farms wherever you wanted to. I think that's what I remember. In Caesar, you definitely needed to build on the fertile areas, and not just Caesar, like Caesar and other various games. But you were very restrained on how much farmland that you had. And this kind of follows in their footsteps as well. So, yeah, once you have food, once you have people, you get your army, recruit whatever you want, assuming that you've actually got the resources, in this case the weapons, to do so. Then you can outfit and send people to do your bidding. And the only question then is, why are you doing that? Why do you get people to do your building? What is the purpose of an army? Well, let's go take a look. Well, typically in a normal game, you're going to be against other people or other AI or whatever, and you very much need to defend yourself in a manner that you see before you against the many different threats that you will be coming to face you. Now, one thing that I want to point out is that the pace of this game, because unlike Age of Empires, unlike Caesar, this is a very fast-paced game. You see, we just began. I have done no editing whatsoever to the video. We can see that they're over on the side, pretty close to where I'm starting. I mean, they're almost like in the same screen distance, right?
We are your men. Get up on those
almost in the
walls.
same screen. And yet, very, very shortly, you're going to see that I'm going to come under attack. So, the fact that I'm like right here, right now, kind of just like scrolling through and picking out specific buildings, if I had no idea what I was doing, or was just trying to figure out what I was doing as I went along, I would be in a lot of trouble right now. Simply because before too long, you're going to hear a message that I'm actually under attack. And that doesn't relent throughout the entire game. This game starts off pretty quick, and it doesn't seem to let up. So if you like Age of Empires, but you don't really like how long that it can last, then this game might actually be for you, because you're going to get right into the action within a few minutes of playing. About
troops are attacking.
There you go. I'm already having an army marching against me, despite it only being a few minutes into the game. I barely have my production up and running, and already the AI knows where I am. They're sending their first units to come and attack me, as we can see here on the screen, and it's going to stay that way. The units they're sending against me are going to increase. The type of unit is going to increase as their economy gets up and running, as their production gets up and running. And we have to be really, really careful to ensure that we're never defenseless, because if we aren't properly defended, as you can see here, we immediately get all of our crap on fire. Now, you can probably deal with this easily. I can't, because I might have forgotten to put down a well, which I suspect you need to put out a fire, so all my crap's gonna burn down. But it's actually quite good, because I get to find out a few more things about this game as we're watching everything that I've well, about half of everything that I've just built go down in flames. One thing that I was curious about is, can people actually get hurt in the flames? And the answer, as you can see here, yeah, they lose health really, really, really quickly. People die in fire, so fire is not a thing to take lightly. Burning down a building isn't just for show, like it is in a lot of games. That destruction can hurt your units. Which brought another question to my mind. Like, how strong is my lord? And you can see here my lord barely takes damage, so he is really, really tough. You can't, I'm assuming you can't just rush the lord and zerg him down with early units, because as you can see, the early units are dying to fire. And he's barely getting injured. He's just like, yep, okay, it's kind of hot in here. Can walk him around the flames, and I guess eventually he'll probably get killed, but he's not going to be doing it for quite some time. And your lord is really, really beefy. So in that respect, it reminded me of Total Annihilation, where you begin off with a commander, your commander's pretty strong, pretty tanky, but he can be overwhelmed by like late game units and blown to bits.
This way.
I mean, even here, we're seeing some knights marching into the flames, and even they take a damage a lot faster than your lord does. And you can see the lord is taking damage. So, that gives you kind of an idea of how strong the various units are, and what you're going to be needing to take out one of these lords. So, there you have it, Stronghold Crusader 2. Overall, my experience with the game was rather a positive one. It's extremely fast-paced, but I can't take off for it being too fast-paced. I mean, I kind of wish the game was a little bit slower, but clearly it was never meant to be, so I can't really take off any points for that. If you liked games like Ages of Empires, games where you're building up, and in this case really, really quickly, and going to assault your opponent, then this is probably a game for you. If you like that particular genre, then good. Definitely want to pay attention to this. Maybe you already know about this. Maybe you already bought it. Maybe you've already been playing it. Who knows? But this game's probably for you. Overall, I thought this was a very solid game. Pretty quick game, obviously, given how fast you really get into the gameplay. I don't think this is going to take you a lot of hours to beat. which, depending upon what you're into, could be a good thing or not. If you don't have a lot of time on your hands, you need a game, you can sit down, get right into it, then yeah, you'll be good to go. If you like the games that stretch out a little bit longer, take more time to get into so you can really plan out what you're doing, maybe this is not quite the game for you, and you may want to look elsewhere. But overall, I thought it was a pretty solid game, didn't run into any issues, game never crashed for me, graphics looked okay, audio was fine. I liked some of the voice acting, as I mentioned in the review. So yeah, overall, pretty solid game. So definitely gets my recommendation if you are a fan of this particular genre. Hard to go wrong with it. Just be warned, fast-paced. It is going to be a bit fast-paced, so you must keep that into consideration. It's kind of easy to get overwhelmed. May want to set it down to easier difficulties if that is the case. May want to click those hints if that is the case, so you have a pretty good idea what you're doing before a bunch of troops, you know, just march over and slaughter you. But yeah, Stronghold Crusader 2. Was previously unaware of the game. I'm definitely going to look up the first one, grab that one for myself, play that out, see how that works, and keep an eye out for any future expansions or sequels to this series. Because I'm a fan, and I hope you are too. If you've enjoyed the game, feel free to comment down below. In the meantime, take care everyone.